Hello, and welcome to Introduction to Redstone, brought to you by the good folks at Einstein's Workshop in Burlington, Massachusetts. I'm your host and instructor, Corey. Today we're going to talk a little about the basics of redstone devices. There are a lot of videos out there showing you how to make specific contraptions, but what if you don't have the space or the resources to put them in? Is every part of the device important? What does each part do? My goal here, over this series of videos, is to introduce you to the components, some basic circuits, and how to start putting them together to design your own inventions and contraptions. So there are three component types. Sometimes a component will behave like more than one different type, and we'll get into that when we take a closer look. The first category are inputs. Inputs are things like levers, and buttons, and tripwire hooks, and pressure plates. They put power into a circuit. They can be momentary, which means that they last for a short time, like buttons, or maintained, which means they stay on until you actively turn them off, like levers. Generally, they act as a power source. Some, like redstone torches, can turn things on the moment you attach them, and some, like redstone blocks, are a continuous power source that never turns off. Connectors are a way to transmit the signal. Redstone dust is the most obvious one. It behaves rather like a wire in an electrical circuit. Redstone repeaters isolate and refresh the strength of a signal. Comparators refresh and compare signals. Now, the last category is outputs. Outputs are the things that are activated by redstone. Doors, note blocks, pistons, TNT. Those are all examples of outputs. For most of my examples, I'm going to be using a redstone lamp, but you can put just about anything in its place and it should work. Now, before we get started, there are a couple of things that I want to mention. Let's start by putting down a very, very simple redstone circuit. Input, connector, output. When I activate this, the lamp turns on. Couple of things to observe. First off, you see how this is bright and there is sort of a dust particle effect appearing on it? That's one of the first things I'm going to show you. Redstone power only reaches about 15 blocks. That's this far. If I try to put down some kind of device beyond that, it won't work. You can see that the further we get away from the switch, the dimmer the redstone gets, until finally, at this piece, there's no particle effect and it's pretty dull. The simplest way to fix this is by using a repeater. As I had said earlier, a repeater is a thing that is going to refresh a signal as well as isolate it. When I put down a repeater, first off you can see that it's once again bright red and it lights up the lamp. If you look closely at the repeater, on the top there's an arrow. The arrow should always be pointed away from the input or the source of power and towards the thing that you would like to power. If I put it down the wrong way, it won't work. Next, because of the way blocks and redstone interact in Minecraft, sometimes it won't behave exactly like you want it to. So I'm going to build a second copy of this device right over there. Works normally. But the moment I put a piece of redstone here, you can see that the circuit curves away, and it no longer powers the device. I can fix this by putting redstone on top of that, but depending on the shape of your device, it might not be convenient or even functional to do that. There are lots of times when we're going to be looking at weird ways to exploit the way that redstone works, or irritating things you might have to work around in your design. In addition to this, a lot of people really prefer to keep their redstone workings hidden. It's an aesthetic choice. Not everybody cares that much. But if you want to keep things relatively clean, it's almost always a good idea to build your redstone before you build any structures around it or decorations on top of it. Trying to hollow out a structure to fit a complicated redstone device inside of it is usually going to make things look sloppy and lopsided. Finally, things can get really complicated with redstone, as I'm sure you can probably guess. One of the simplest ways to keep track of all of your circuitry, if you do end up with a sprawling device, is by color coding things. I would recommend using colored wool or any of the other brightly colored blocks that we've got in Minecraft to help differentiate. If I put down two different things, you'll know that they're connected. Now I know which one turns on both and which one only turns on one. Okay. Now that we've talked about some of the basic functions of Redstone, let's take a look at some digital logic. So, inside of a computer, at its most basic level, everything is controlled by power inside of it being either switched on or off. Computers keep track of this with a computer language called binary, which only uses two characters, ones and zeros. Now you can combine those ones and zeros to spell out just about anything, but you end up with an awful lot of ones and zeros depending on what exactly it is you're spelling out or trying to say. 1 means on, and 0 means off. If you look at the power button on your device, you'll probably see a symbol that looks like a 1 floating partway through a 0, and that represents the two possibilities in binary. Those numbers can also translate to true, which is also 1, and false, which is also 0. These devices we make are going to use the same system, and I may change up how I refer to them as I go. The first logic gate I'm going to show you is called an OR gate. An OR gate needs to have at least two inputs. So if I activate this, the lamp is going to turn on. If I activate this, the lamp is going to turn on. Now, if I activate both of them, what do you think is going to happen? Well, this is a video, so I can't actually ask that question. But a lot of people seem to think that if I were to activate this, it would turn the lamp off. And as you can see, that's not what happens. An OR gate means that this is true if this or any other input is active. Let's get silly with this. Turns it on. 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 This, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this, and so on and so on. The only way that this lamp is turned off is if every last one of these is off. So not this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. I'm going to take a moment to show you a thing called a truth table. This is an example of a truth table. This is the way I learned about these things myself. So, at its core, with the minimum number of inputs, which is 2, there are only 4 possibilities, 2 times 2. If both of those are off, as represented by the red blocks, the redstone lamp is off. If either of them is on while the other one remains off, the lamp still comes on. And if both of them are on, the lamp is also on. This can be really useful if you want to have two different ways into the same space. You might have built one of these already and not realized that you were creating an OR gate. This is an example of a door opening device. This, or this, will open this. I can also move that further away. Once again, either this or this will activate the door for me. The next gate that I'm going to show you is called an inverter, or a NOT gate. NOT gates have at least one input, and in their unmodified state, the output is going to be active. If any input is activated, the NOT gate is going to turn itself off. To make a NOT gate in Minecraft, the simplest way to do it is with the use of a redstone torch. This is a power source on its own. If I were to connect any redstone to this, it would be on by default. One of the interesting things about redstone torches in Minecraft, though, is that they can be turned off on their own. When I activate this, and I put power into the block that the redstone torch is on, the redstone torch goes off, and anything that it was powering is also turned off. It's worth noting that if I just put this redstone torch down here, the switch isn't going to do anything. This is actually powering the line that is supposed to be changing the state of this. So the simplest way to do it is by putting it on top of a block that you're putting a power signal into. This is one of those idiosyncrasies of how redstone blocks work together. So you might look at this and say, well, what's the point? I mean, I could just put the redstone directly into the lamp and it would turn on. It just doesn't matter with this lever. And you'd be right. This particular combination isn't the most useful thing I could make. Let me make a slightly different one. I'm going to show you how to make a secret door using a NOT gate. I'm going to start with some sticky pistons. Now, pistons, in their normal state, are not extended. They're retracted, like this. Once again, idiosyncrasies of redstone. If I put power into this piece here, it is going to directly power this, but because there's redstone on top of this block, it is also powering the one next to it. That means that both of these are going to be pushed at the same time. Let's actually keep this on the same elevation. There, the door is currently shut. I can turn that off in a moment with this lever. If I want something that's a little bit more reactive, that doesn't require a maintained signal, I can do that with a pressure plate. Technically, this is an OR gate both connecting into a NOT gate, but I'm going to break this now. Now when I step on this pressure plate, it opens the door. The most famous example of this is the Jeb door, which is a little bit more complex than this, but we'll probably get into that at another time. Speaking of time, we've just about run out. I think I will leave this on a truth table of the NOT gate, which is really, really simple. If it's off, it's on. If it's on, it's off. So that's about all the time we have for this video. Next time we'll be talking about AND gates and oscillators. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. From all of us at Einstein's Workshop, happy building and have fun.